Okay, Thursday, July 6, 2023. We're okay here in Lviv. Last night around 2:30 in the morning, uh, we heard like two really loud explosions. I mean, they sounded really close by and it even shook the building a little bit. I mean, I felt like some wave, like a shock wave or something. And then about an hour later, we heard a smaller third explosion that must have been further away. But I was like, wow, it really takes your breath away when it happens so close. There's just very little information about what happened. The mayor of Lviv came on, apparently some building. They said it was critical infrastructure, but my wife told me it was a student house. So it's typical Russian at targeting civilians. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'm trying to reason and put this in perspective, right? If I were living in America, we have to worry about random shooters. I mean, every time you go to Walmart, you go to the shopping mall, you send your kids to school, you go to the post office, whatever. I mean, it's just always like, it's but I guess this is more pointed, when it's a missile coming from Russia, right? Although statistically, it's probably safer here. It just, I don't know, it's more rattling. I mean, when I was living in Chicago, I mean, every weekend there was, 40 or 50 shootings, especially in the summer, when I was living there. And there's a lot of car accidents and just a lot of craziness. You could get robbed at the 7-Eleven, just at random, get shaken down, and so I don't know. I try to always, I'm the kind of person, I studied engineering and took a lot of courses in statistics. I always try to reason things through statistics, but yeah, this is definitely, I am checking in on all my friends. I have a lot of friends that live in central Lviv. When I saw the footage, of what happened, I mean, I just, I saw that it looked like city center and everything. I guess we'll get more details today. I won't have time to get down there till this weekend. I'm, I'm working on a project in the UK that I'm studying for my Agile Certified Practitioner, and I have another contract job, for a company in America. ETL project, extract, transform, load, moving data around. Sounds easy, but it's not. So, yeah, yeah, I just have to shake it off, I guess. And, life has to go on. If every time we run, it makes it that much easier for the Russians to take everything. For Americans, especially on the right, Russia is not our friend, and Russia does not share any American values. But I don't know how to fight this wave. You have Trump and even DeSantis and a good part of the Republican Party thinking that we should just appease Russia and back down. I mean, but that's what they did with Hitler. They gave him Czechoslovakia, and he almost ate the floor. He wanted to fight, and then anyway he started an blitzkrieg invasion of Poland, and started the whole Second World War anyway. So to you Republicans, I think Biden is doing the right thing. And I mean, everyone's making fun of his his age or whatever and all these gaffes he's doing, but you have to remember FDR had polio and was in a wheelchair, and he managed our the war all the way, with Germany and Japan. So sometimes it's what's deep inside that matters. Maybe he's making all these mistakes and they're just picking on it. And I don't like it either. I would personally like to see someone with more cognitive ability and everything in the White House, like Mark Warner. I mean, just like, I don't know why Senator Mark Warner, this is his time, or even Al Gore, pull him out of mothballs. I think, I don't know. But I have to commend Joe Biden for, calling Putin a war criminal, and because that's what he is. So far we know 3 people died, but there's a bunch of people stuck in the building, so I'm pretty sure the casualties will be higher. And this is just you right-winged American people. America has to stand for something. This whole romanticism that we go back to the 1800s and live in isolation. If we do that, everything will creep up on our borders. I mean, look what's going on with Mexico. And believe me, I'm against the open border with Mexico. I'm not black and white on these things, but right now the Democrats are showing more American values to stand up for democratic nations and democratic principles. Because if America just let Russia take Ukraine, first of all, it would screw up the food supply equation in the world. Now Russia is not only a gas station, but then they're also becoming a supermarket. There's a good portion of the world's grain comes from Ukraine, and you can use that to control Africa and the Middle East. And then that would come back to bite us. They would cut us off from minerals. They would cut us off from oil and gas. I mean, your arguments are very simplistic that, if we stop funding Ukraine, life will get better in America. Food inflation is a good thing in America. We could stand to lose some weight. We have 70% of the people obese over there. So try to, if we even went back to 1980s Reagan things, that would be a good thing, in terms of food prices. Food prices are too low in America. They could stand to go up. And Americans need to get back into the physical body mass index and everything that there were 50 years ago. So it's not a problem. I dealt with inflation by eating healthier, by losing some weight and start working out more, and take joy in life instead of having these big vacations and everything, hiking in the woods and doing things that lead to my health, improving my health. That's cheap. But, and I don't know what the Germans are holding back. These missiles could have been shot down with the Rheinmetall systems, the programmable ammunition. They can put a cloud up in the sky and intercept these missiles. And I don't know why Israel is holding back on the Iron Dome. This could have definitely stopped what happened today and stopped all of this madness all over Ukraine and make a statement. Western countries have to stick together. We're not living in the 1800s anymore, where we live in isolation and everything outside our borders is not our business. It is our business because, like I said, if Russia gets Ukraine, China's already got their eyes on Taiwan. And if the U.S. loses Taiwan, we lose a lot of semiconductor capacity. We lose a lot of our technological edge. That is something like Taiwan, and they do very well in Asia, is making chips. They're trying to bring that technology back to the U.S., but believe me, it's just cultural. I don't want us to be politically incorrect and everything, but certain things, certain countries are really good at doing. I mean, that's the Keynesian economics. They highly specialized in computer chips, geared their whole education towards this industry. They're very heavy on the mathematics and, pure sciences over there. And yeah, maybe we could evacuate Taiwan into America and evacuate Ukraine and bring them all to the U.S., but that's very impractical and improbable, and it's not the right thing to do, because once they get that, then they want Japan, they want the Philippines, they want Australia, and then next thing you know, they commandeer South America and African countries only go to whoever, they don't care, they will take the money. So whoever's giving the money or allows them to stay in, run crazy banana republic countries or dictatorships, that's where they'll go. It's like the Afghans, right? When we were blocking the border in between Pakistan and Afghanistan after Tora Bora, we hired Afghan soldiers to block the border, and then they took the money from us, and then when bin Laden and his people came, they paid them and let them through, so they got paid twice. Not everybody has these values of honor and principle. Actually, most people don't, and they won't So if we, like I say, if we cede Ukraine, we cede Taiwan, we they'll slowly put the noose around our neck. I mean, they're not people who just want to stay in their part of the world and be left alone. This is like some crazy American libertarian talk. And the libertarians in America are basically a Russian-funded fifth column. Nobody would subscribe to that Rand Paul crap unless they were heavily funded. And they're really like trying to play and romanticize on this idea of how America used to be. 100 years ago in America, people barely lived till 50, 60 years old in good health. I mean, I think they were still living like in their 60s, but you were old. I'm 52 now. I have a baby on the way. I'm living good. I'm jogging and having a good time and got a lot of energy, to do things. The food has changed, the information is better. We're not dying of polio and tuberculosis and all these crazy diseases. We're not being told that cigarettes are good for us and you should smoke more. We're not living in segregation. So, I mean, you libertarians, your idea of the world, I mean, go back to life 100 years ago. You probably all, they didn't have antibiotics back then. You get one flu, one cold, you're dead. It's that way. So. Yeah. I mean, now we have people at work. You're seeing more and more of this now. People working at the age of 100. There's like some stockbroker in New York and some doctor in somewhere in America. She's 100 years old and still practicing medicine. So this red pill dark view of the world you gotta check it. You gotta fact check yourselves. I always take the opposite point. Like I said, I actually, I admit I actually voted for Trump twice, on this belief that make America great again. But to me, make America great again means destroying Russia, destroying China, and destroying Iran. I have the Reagan view of make America great again. And this new modern view of make America great again is put America into isolation. And, yes, I agree we have to have self-sufficient energy. And even Germany picked this up. Germany is quickly moving away from Russian energy. That was one thing they got right, but the other thing, to tell that we're going to withdraw from NATO, and you have Trump here saying he would make a deal with Putin. That's not an option. We just got to keep driving. We never made a deal with North Korea. We got to an armistice point, and we have that border heavily guarded, and we're ready to take it all back. As soon as the regime in North Korea falls. But there's no deal with them, and they're heavily sanctioned, and they can't travel freely, and the North Koreans say they especially the upper echelons can't travel freely, and the ones who get away, they're given refugee status and everything. But this is what's coming. We're going into a new Cold War, and it's just a matter of principle. And I don't know what happened with Republicans. I was watching videos of Ronald Reagan. He really understood that Russia was something evil. I mean, he built his whole career in Hollywood, with Senator McCarthy seeking out Russian infiltration in the movie industry. And they were, finding all these actors and people with Russian sympathies and singling them out and putting them on the spot. And it was right. It was heavily criticized. But it turns out it was right. It's true. And now you have Fox News and all of this. I don't know how I guess the Russians are good at setting up these front companies and slipping money through different layers of companies and, creating this craziness on the right side that, we should just don't poke the Russian bear. I think Nigel Farage, that's his line and everything. We ought to keep poking them until they bleed out, by 1,000 cuts, just like Reagan did. We got to run their economy into the ground and make those oligarchs very uncomfortable. So, and then, on the left, like I said, on the left side, like I said, Biden is doing the right thing, standing up for Ukraine. But, I mean, of course, he should send the F-16s. They got to quit flip-flopping, and take the gloves off. And I don't know, they need to seize the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. Like they could do a special operation there and cut that off. Use 75th Rangers and Delta and some Green Berets, and maybe you need some SEALs too. I don't know how much water is involved, in that area, but that's definitely a land operation. So, and just make that like a neutral zone, like a UN zone or something. The power plants. I think the U.S. could get away with it, if they had some backroom deal with China and India that could tell Russia don't react. That we need to take that off the chess table. But at least Biden has the right intention and got Europe and everyone together to support Ukraine. Because if everyone had just let this alone, this would have been bad. And it actually, I think Biden's legacy is going to be that he got Finland and maybe Sweden into NATO. This crotchety old man who can't talk right. Got the Alabama of Europe. That's what they call Finland. Finland is like, except it's north. America and Alabama's the south. But the Finns are kind of, and I used to work for a Finnish-based investment bank long ago. And Finns, they're your friends for life. I can call up these guys 20, 30 years later, and it'll be just like yesterday, and they'll invite you. And they're probably the most warm and hospitable people in all of Scandinavia. Once you get to know them, if you work in a company with Finnish people and stuff, they will remember you. But yeah, they are, like I said, I think that's a good analogy, the Alabama of Europe. So now they're in NATO and bringing all their firepower. And they say the Finnish army is like, with the reserves or something, it's like 100,000 strong. I would say it's like 5 million. I think every Finn is ready to go to war with Russia. It's in their blood. I mean, you'll have a bunch of like 90-year-old men and a bunch of 12-year-old boys and girls like ready to take Russia on. And the Russians are terrified of Finland. They had a war with them in 1939, and it was something like what's going on here in Ukraine. It was that's where the word Molotov cocktail was invented. They had a guy over there who had this idea of putting burning bottles of vodka into the tank vents, into the air intake of the Russian tanks, or the fuel intake, and it would catch on fire in the engine and then catch the fuel on fire, and you'd get some crispy situation going there with the tank crews. So yeah, but this is they need to send at least the defensive weapons. I mean, I do understand these arguments about the offensive weapons that we don't want to cross into the border of Russia that could trigger some bigger nuclear war. I mean, I understand those concerns, but at least send the air defense weapons. And I don't know what's holding Israel and Germany back. They have some really nice weapons. I mean, Norway is sending these NASAMS over, but they don't make enough of them. I mean, the production on those things in Norway is not an industrial economy. They need to produce Norway would have to build a lot of factories. It'll take a couple of years to get things moving, especially the way stuff moves in Norway. It takes a while. It's a lot of regulation and everything, but maybe they could build these factories here in Ukraine so these stuff can get to the front quicker. But yeah, this is life here. The Russians are targeting civilians, targeting buildings. I understand it's a student house, and I don't know what the Republicans are thinking, why they're so anti-Ukraine. I mean, yes, there is corruption here. Yes, money is disappearing, but that happened with our own soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that people involved in the supply chain were doing stuff. That happens. That's par for the course, and that's not that problem can be dealt with later. Everything is in a computer somewhere, and that stuff can be dug up with forensic accounting, and those people can be held to account. But right now, the most urgent and pressing matter is the defeat of Russia's ambitions, and to figure out a way to break that country up into something we can manage. And believe me, maybe it sounds self-righteous, but Western countries should be in charge. You don't want to live in Chinese or Russian paradigm. It sucks. it really, those people are all lining up when they get a chance to get visas, or even in the Middle East, to come to America or come to Europe. Believe me, when the Belarusians promoted the idea in the Middle East that they could get visas to Europe, and they put them all on the border to rush Poland, they were flocking. Those people were flocking. I mean, you never, aside from Edward Snowden, nobody is trying to move to Russia. I don't know that. I mean, there's like a couple British guys on YouTube blogging about life in Russia and everything. I don't know what their dysfunction is. Why the hell they don't move out of there? Because life there is gonna, with these sanctions and everything kicking in, and we're gonna shift gear. Like I said, we're in the middle of a phase shift. We're now moving back into a new Cold War, and there was like a news report that in Scranton, Pennsylvania, they make 155 millimeter cannon rounds. Like, that factory's orders are just going through the roof. It was like on NBC News. And I think there's going to be more of this, like these little towns in Pennsylvania, that were thriving in the 80s. And it was because of defense. You need a lot of steel, cold, hard steel. And it's going to revive. Like I said, there's going to be a new American renaissance. The blue-collar economy is coming back. Working skilled labor in a factory, being a machinist, CNC programmer. This is coming back. This layer of the economy is coming back, hopefully at the expense of the billionaires. Because these businesses don't get high margins. There's a lot of moving parts, factories, unions, all this kind of stuff you got to deal with. It's not like high tech, like making a SaaS software. You pay a couple guys $100,000, $200,000, and then you sell subscriptions of software for $30 a month to like 1 million people. It's going to be more classic business models are coming back, where you're actually like taking raw material and converting it to finished goods. So, I've got to get my day going. But, we're staying. I think we're going to stay. Maybe we have to move out of the city a little bit, out of Lviv, just out of the population center. Maybe there's like a whole bunch of like villages nearby. That might be worth looking into, So, at least the air will be fresher. It'll be this fun. It's like some hysteric. We have a little bit of this village thing going on where we live in Lviv. Like, we don't shop at the supermarket. We go shop in these open air marketplaces where people are, having these boxes. Like, I can't even describe it. I'll have to I'm going to get a GoPro camera and wear it and walk and talk, and that way you get this big stereoscopic view of my life in Ukraine. Like, so after I pass this exam, this second exam, I did the project manager exam, now I'm going to do this ACP exam. I'm going to start doing some narrated walks through Lviv and everything, and just show you why I like it here. This is like the soccer field, this is the basketball court, right? It's just, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, this just feels natural for me. Like in Norway, I love Norway, but everything is just so clean and so nice there. I don't know, I just get bored. But this is like, in your brain, I don't know, you see all this randomness, like some of the grass is cut, some is not, some stuff is in better condition than others. It seems more natural. I guess there's more variation. Mankind is always, I worked as a Six Sigma project manager, and our whole goal is to get rid of variation, and make everything uniform. But I think maybe that's what causes the boredom. I think variation is what makes life interesting, so. Yeah, this is a longer video than usual, but it's been a while. Like, I just comment on 4th of July here. It just came and went, it's, it doesn't mean as much, now with life in Ukraine. I mean, I definitely appreciate American independence and all of that, but we're at war again, and, maybe there'll be a day that 4th of July is like independence for, like in that movie, I don't know, that movie with the aliens, like 4th of July is everyone's Independence Day. You know, it needs to be for all of the free world. Need to recognize this holiday. All of the Western countries need to recognize this, and we need to pull together. Like this whole Republican thing about like America being isolated and all that. Actually, if anything, we need to figure out how to merge with Canada and merge with Western Europe, especially Scandinavia and Northern Europe, you know, where they have the values. I mean, we got to pull Southern Europe up and pull Mexico up, you know, get Mexico on our side and maybe work with them more to fix their government and fix these cartels, you know, and then maybe we can have a more open border like we do with Canada. I don't know. But we need to start doing something before the Russians and Chinese take advantage. You know, we have to get people on side, you know, because that they'll get the resource control. You know, it's the only way. You cannot go back. There's no time machine. We cannot go back in time. We have to go forward, and Russia and China have shown what they are. And if we are not proactive and we're reactive, then it's a really bad situation. We did it when Japan attacked us. That was different. Like we could react and come back with a vengeance and everything. But this is a much different era. You know, with electronic warfare and what have you, and media. You know, now we're seeing this media warfare, this openly blatant media warfare where people who are supposed to represent American values are like blowing holes in our country all the time and blowing, you know, trying to advocate for a civil war and all of this. You know, that's just bullshit. You know, excuse my language, but that's only the Russians would want that. You know, no true American would want that. We would try to resolve things for our existing system. You know, and it works if people would take part, and it works if people would be a little bit reasonable. We can have like patriotism, and we can have single-payer health care. You know, we can still keep our guns, but maybe we can reduce the stress in the workplace by taxing billionaires and putting in social programs and making it so that a 40-hour-a-week job with a high school education can buy you a house. Believe me, the shootings and all the craziness would go down. It's a mental health crisis. And it's a mental health crisis because you've had all these CEOs and stuff and billionaires just grab everything, you know. And if you really love your country, you distribute the wealth, you know, collect these, you know, where the wealth pools at the top, you take that and redistribute it through infrastructure programs and get us back into a 1940s, 1950s economy where things were more flattened, or 1960s, 1970s. You know, it's a little bit more graduated, but there was still a ladder you could climb, you know, and bring that back. And there were taxes. There were a lot of very high taxes back then, and they worked. You know, these people romanticizing about the past don't remember, like, you know, we had income, you know, they said income tax was unconstitutional, but we had to. America was growing, and we had to, you know, defend ourselves. So, anyway, that's a whole other, geez, I've been going on a long time. Yeah, anyway, take care. And we'll see you. Bye.